Hello everyone, welcome back to my humble shop. I built and installed this box beam style floating mantle. It's made of cherry and it looks great. There's a lot of detail to a build like this and I didn't see much in my research, so I figured I'd break this into two videos. As you know, I don't like my videos being beyond 10 minutes or so in this first video I'll outline how I cut and prep the wood for assembly. In the second video I'll glue it up, fill the imperfections, stain it, finish it, and mount it. So let's get on with the build. A lot of cool stuff in here. So here are the three pieces of cherry. These were the best pieces that I could get at the lumberyard that sold such pieces of wood. I'm going to use this piece as the bottom of the mantle. This is the middle piece, and then the best piece I could find, this one here, will be the top. Okay, I took the time to look at each of the three boards and put a few marks on them to get an idea where I was going to be cutting. This piece here that's going to be the bottom, there's plenty of heartwood on it, or I'll be able to get rid of the sapwood. A little disappointed with the piece here. Is going to be the face of the mantle that faces the living room. It's going to be the most visible piece. And I thought I had plenty of extra, and the far side has a lot of tear out from when they milled it. Set up the chops outside. It's a beautiful day. I think this is the best way to make these cuts. So I set up the stop on my stand to register the saw for the correct length based on this front piece that's already been cut with both miters. And I'm going to cut the top and the bottom, hopefully to the exact same dimension using this setup. Well, the easy part's done, and this corner looks like it has the potential to line up pretty close to perfect. And you can see that one's looking pretty good. I'm cleaning up the rough sawn side of the board before I zero in on the final dimensions, and I have to be careful to do the same thing to all three of these pieces at the same time. Keep them all in sync with each other and not mess up the grain matching. The final color of the mantle is a bit TBD. There's some what's called Brazilian cherry in the floor. That's not cherry at all. And the thought is we'd like to pick up some of the red tones that are in that particular piece of wood and impart it in the cherry. The cherry here will get darker as it ages. Okay, so here's three different colors on the pieces of cherry, heartwood, and sapwood. This is red oak, which I thought was going to look good, but I'm not so sure. This is red mahogany, and I kind of like that one. And this is dark walnut. A couple things to keep in mind. The cherry itself will darken to a reddish brown with probably black undertones to it. And the stains on top are kind of translucent, so you're going to end up with a blended color. Another thing is you can layer these different colors to get different tones. So you could put the walnut down first and then maybe the red mahogany on top of it to get slightly different effects. And that's, again, the subject of more experimentation. And finally, just realized in my workshop here, this is LED lighting, which is not really representative of where the mantle is going to end up. I got too caught up in the setup, so I actually didn't record the cuts on when I did the long rips on the long edge of the boards. I used my table saw, and this is the insert I have when I tip the blade 45 degrees, and this is not a very good piece. And the risk you run when you're doing a cut like this is if the board you're cutting has a bow in it or a twist or a cup, then the edge may not stay flat against the table saw. And as you do that on a 90-degree cut, it's not a big deal. But on a 45-degree cut, you're going to find that the miter cut is going to float up and down, giving you a less than perfect cut. So to hedge my bets, I have my 10-inch blade in here. This is a thin kerf blade. It's a 1/10 of an inch, and typically I use even narrower circular saw blades, and I think that they flex a lot. So with the 10-inch blade, I think I'm going to get less flexing. I also have a feather board to hold it against the fence. I have my tall, extra long fence on the table saw, and I mounted another feather board over here, trying to push down on it. And I ran it through, and here is one of the cutoffs. And you can see there's a lot of burning, and I didn't get burning on the piece that mattered. So for some reason this piece burned a lot more than the actual piece I wanted. But here you can see there are some saw kerf marks, and I can feel those with my finger. The other thing I did on the actual pieces was I took my hand plane and I very gently took a very light pass just to knock down some of these ridges. I didn't go out of my way to get it perfect because I figured I would have plenty of glue surface for a good strong joint, and I kind of thought I'd be using wood filler in similar techniques anyway. I used my number 5 plane set to a very light cut and ran it along the 45-degree shoulders of the boards just to knock off some of the high spots. Well, here's it so far. It is, as you can probably tell, taped together. There's no fasteners or glue, and it's looking pretty good, I must admit. The boards aren't particularly straight or perfect, but it seems as though most of the joints, if I just squeeze them together with hand pressure, I can get them to close up pretty good. So I'm feeling okay about that. The biggest problem I've run into is this piece right here. The face was the least flat and straight of all of them. I thought about using biscuits for alignment purposes. I can set the fence to 45 degrees and using this tool put a slot going in perpendicular to this face up by the part where it folds here. The trouble with biscuits is you can't move them, so if you start to put it together and it's not looking right, then you've got a different set of problems. So this was the first slot I cut, which was entirely too low. Then I experimented up here and the slot was a little high, but again it was twisted. I had to put a shim on the fence of my biscuit joiner, and I had to shim the, as you're looking at it this way, the right side. And finally, with some experimentation, I came up with this slot that looks pretty gosh darn close to perfectly flat, and it's just below the level of the miter, so I'm happy with that. Well, here are the pieces laid out, and I put pencil marks where I think I'm going to put some biscuits. I've laid out these pieces very carefully. You can see I already cut this biscuit. It seems as though this particular miter cut, when I did that on my miter saw, didn't come out perfectly square. I have a pencil line here kind of indicating a more square cut, and fortunately this one seems to also have come out a little bit long. So hopefully that's the same problem. I'm going to try to true up this angle on my newly minted 45-degree shooting board, and we'll see how much luck we get on that. Just touched up the blade on the iron and of course gave myself a little bit of a cut along the way. Okay, I have this board set up. Going to use my 4-square plane, and I think I'm going to use a rag to cushion my hand. Wasn't all the way I wanted to get. I'm going to go check this again against the other pieces, make sure I don't go too far, because if I make this board too short, I'll have to shorten the other ones. Well, here it is, reassembled using the biscuits. It went together pretty well. I think the biscuits do help with alignment. Alrighty, I'm going to end this video here, and I'll show you the finishing product on the next video. Please like, subscribe, and let me know how I can make my videos better. Stay safe, take care, and check out the second video.